All right, so now that we've finished the back and breastplate, we've made it so they're attached with a registration pin and a hook and eye sort of pin here. This is how they get put together. This is a display model, so it's not necessarily meant to be worn, although this actually fits me really well, and this is definitely wearable. So the next part we're going to be working on is the gorgets. Now, normally, I mean, they can get really kind of complicated. We're going to do a simple version, but here's one that's got sort of a suspended version, and it's got leather that holds it in place, like this. And they generally always open up on one side, like this, kind of lock in place, and then you get your neck around it, and it sort of locks in place like this. And then, yeah, this is worn underneath the breastplate like this. So, yeah, we're going to start with this project, but this is kind of complicated, so we're going to go with more of a simple system. Just instead of a 6-piece one, we're going to go with just a 2-piece, because, you know, nobody's going to, this is meant for just a display, so this is kind of just a starting point. So it opens up, closes around the wearer's neck, so yeah, these are usable too. They don't give as much protection, but, so this is the simple version we're going to work on now. That's kind of what we're shooting for now. So let's go draw it out and cut it out of a piece of steel. Okay, we've got our simple 2-piece gorget pattern. We're going to draw it out on a piece of steel here. Yeah, we're back to using 20 gauge because we don't need it to be too strong. I've got 2 holes to pre-drill once I cut it out. Okay, first things first, just cut it down to a smaller, manageable size. Okay, now we can do more detail cutting. Took years to figure out this pattern. I've been tweaking it over the last 30 years. I've got different versions of it, not only for different time periods, because it evolved, it changed over the years, but also I've been tweaking it because I wanted to get sort of more comfortable to wear, as well as, you know, forming it. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't so complicated to form this piece. Yeah, but yet I still have the parameters of keeping it historically looking as possible. So I do a lot of research. Like I said, it's like 30 years of sort of tweaking the pattern to make it look either more historically correct or more comfortable. And so I have a lot of different patterns over the years. I keep them all, but how I know if they've been improved or not is I might make marks on the little envelopes that I keep the patterns in. So it usually has dates on it, and it'll say if it's been updated or not. There. So we're going to roll a large bead right around the collar area from the front and the back. Going to do it in 2 passes. Because we're going to add wire into this one to give it more strength. So that's why I'm also doing it flat. Before I start forming it. This is going to be hard enough to do as it is. Piece. There. Okay, then we're going to put wire in it and roll it over. Okay, now that we've cut them out and rolled the large roll here, I'm going to bend this steel over to put the wire in it to give it a little more strength. So, yeah, the first way of doing it is basically just try to hit it over. Oh wow! Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. Basically, yeah, you're just hitting the edge over to get it going in the right direction. So as you can see, I'm slowly bending it over more and more. And I've got a little jig here to help too, so I put it up against that. And what it is, you want it to be pretty much 3/4 the way over. So you just get your wire into it. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing here. Yeah, so it's almost over. I do that front. Now I've got to do the back. So it's like that. So now we estimate how much wire we need. I always overestimate. It's good to have extra. Then start. Pop my jig out here. So I've moved the angle around to change the view so you can see what I'm doing here. As I lay the wire in, I'm just hammering it over. I use this edge here to stop it. Cut that end off. I'll file it later, but I'm just going to get it out of the way for now. Kind of a messy job, but yeah, you can see how it works here. So this is the back part. I got to do that for the front now, which is basically the same routine. You got to give it a good head start to get it to roll over. But once you got one end started and held in place, then it's a lot easier. The excess wire off. And then, yeah, this is where I just take my time and I just flatten it right over so it's got a nice and smooth finish. Okay, so now these are ready to form over a bar. Okay, so now we're going to form it, give it its basic shape over this bar. I've got a couple bars that I put over my main anvil here. Yeah, this is where the shoulder part is. Kind of want to form the back plate like this. and then we're going to bring the front over, make the edges similar. Let's do some subtle bends by hand whenever I can. So this way they match up close. As you can see, it's starting to take shape here. So what I'll do from this stage is I'll temporarily make a mark and then bolt them together and then just reshape it from there. So at this point, I temporarily bolted it together to conform it so both parts work really well. And now I'm going to do a roll around the edge. So I'm doing it lightly, giving it its initial roll while it's together. That way the rolls will match up. So I'm going to do just a soft roll. Do the initial. That way I know for sure that everything matches up. And this happens every once in a while, like come off the tracks, but I just back it up a bit, get back onto it, try it again. Oh, it's a little too deep. Yeah, I might make this look a little easy, but these hand rolling machines are kind of tricky, and you've got to get skilled at using them. But I mean, that's why I always do an initial roll, because the next pass it'll fall within that groove, and then I can make it deeper. There, so I'm at the start again. So now is where I move it in deeper. There. Also gives you a second chance to correct any of the problems. Okay, so now you can see it's got a nice bead roll all the way around it. And I'm just going to go rope this, and that's pretty much done, except for I'm going to have to put the hook and pin in here and the straps for the shoulders. Alright, so now we do the ripped edging. Yeah, I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing, but at the same time I have to see what I'm doing. So, here. kind of tedious work, but it's kind of satisfying too when it's all done. And so, I know a few people wondered why I wear knuckle protection on my left hand, and it's because I'm getting better at it now, but there's been times where I'd be hitting this and it would skip off and hit my knuckles. So I started wearing these decorative knuckle protections just off and on, just as a habit now, just to protect my left hand from getting bruised up pretty bad. Yeah, this is a fairly tall chisel, but there's projects I've used where the chisel is really short and it just bounced off and hit my left knuckles really bad. Okay. Coming around the clubhouse turn. Yeah, as you can see, I've tried to be as consistent as possible. So there you go. All right, I'm going to see how much I can get done on one video section here. So now that we've rolled and roped the edges here, and it's fitting pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the hook and eye pin here and rivet that on, rivet the hook on, I'll just screw it on temporarily. Then I'll rivet it together, make sure everything's fitting fine. So that's kind of where we're at. So again, these are the little steel rods with a 1/8 inch hole, 1/8 inch little rod on the end. I'm going to put it through there and then rivet it on. And I'll usually try to use a washer here. But before we make it too snug, I'll make sure it's lined up still. Again, I want it to be like horizontal to this edge here. Yeah, that's right. So it pops in there. Got my hook. It's gonna hold it in place. So we'll just temporarily bolt it on there. And while we're at it, I guess we can temporarily bolt it together too. Now we can make that commitment right now. Let's use a brass rivet and we'll rivet this edge, this left side together. So my rivet set in there and a washer to hold it in place. Oops. There. Okay, we can't make it too snug because it's got to spin. Want it to be kind of snug, but like that. I'm gonna pop on there. And we've got our hook that will just temporarily bolt in place right now, just to see how it works. Makes it snug. Yeah, you know what? I think it's working fine. So let's go ahead and rivet this on. Well, it's like the same amount as the other side. We want it to be able to spin. So we don't want to make it too tight. Like that. Use a washer. Washers are good for several things. It's good for, you know, pivoting rivets, you know, kind of smooths it out. But I also like using them because if something goes wrong and I want to grind this off, I don't have to damage the actual armor piece. I can just grind it off, and then, you know, that washer will take the brunt of the grinding. So yeah, as it goes around your neck, it locks in place with this hook, like that. It's looking pretty good. I'm just bending into shape. So yeah, it's pretty much done. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the leather straps for the shoulders, because they get attached to the gorget here. And again, these have to be able to spin, so they're not going to be attached too tightly. So I'll just break it up and I'll get ready to do that part. So the next stage is going to be to put the straps on for the shoulders. So here, what I'm going to talk about is how to make them both. It's a little trick. How to make them both at the same hole spacing, is I basically do them at the same time and just double them up. Pop the end in there, and then, I just know from doing this so many times where about the shoulders start. And I always want kind of an option, so I usually give it like a 3-hole option. 1, 2. That way they're identical. And many years ago, had a die to punch these out for me. These are brass rosettes. I use these as decorative washers, in a sense, is what I do. So I'll be using that as kind of like a theme for some of the buckles and straps on this suit of armor. So yeah, I've got that at the top here, and then I put the brass rivet through it like that, and then it goes on there. So I'm going to need my rivet set and my washer. Again, these have to be able to spin, so I can't do them like, I can't hammer them too hard. It's just enough to make sure that it doesn't pop off. And it's kind of snug. But still able to spin. And the reason why it spins is, like, I'll talk about it later when I do the shoulders, but yeah, that way it can move with the shoulder, you know. Okay, so we'll do the other side. Yeah, just a little more snug. Oh, it's still loose enough to swivel. Yeah, like that. Okay, so the Gorget is ready to put on the stand, and then I'm just going to add the breast and backplate onto it, and we're just going to keep building the suit of armor piece by piece.